Year of the Dragon draws to a close, and Chinese people right around the globe are getting ready to welcome the Year of the Snake. China denies allegations that one of its ships locked its weapons radar onto a Japanese frigate. A major conference on mining in Africa wraps up in Cape Town, South Africa. We'll get you the details. And the northeast of the United States is bracing itself for what could be one of the worst snowstorms in decades. This is the News Hour on CCTV News. Noon here in Beijing, 11 p.m. across the U.S. East Coast. Wherever you're joining us from, thanks for your time, folks. We'd like to start this program by wishing all our viewers in China and right around the world a very happy and prosperous Year of the Snake as we celebrate the Spring Festival here in China, Chunjie Kuaile. Now, New Year customs here in China, they vary right around the country. They're as varied as the country's geography. Dragon dance, mouth-watering feast, the Younger dance. As you take a trip down from the north of China to the south, the celebratory practices change. Let's get you a sneak peek as our top story on the News Hour.
You might have seen a dragon dance before, but what about a bench dragon parade? At a village near Yellow Mountain in Anhui Province, dancers staged a parade on the street, waving a dragon made of lanterns fixed on benches. The bench dragon parade originated in the Song dynasty. Along with the dragon's dance are people's good wishes for the coming year. Each dragon is composed of 100 benches and stretches over 100 meters.
I hope our lives next year are prosperous, like this dragon.
Heading to the north, in Siping City in Jilin Province, this family is busy pasting festival couplets, hanging lanterns and making paper cuttings. The women are preparing food for the New Year feast. In this big iron cauldron is the dish that just needs its finishing touches.
This dish is fried chicken with mushrooms. We'll make 10 dishes, meaning perfection.
Stewed fish, stewed pork with pickled cabbages and sausages. All these are signature dishes of northeast China. A Younger dance troupe is traveling the village to pay a New Year call to every family. And Younger is also swaying its way in Shandong's Binzhou, where a dance competition was held. Some 1,000 farmers joined in the dance. Younger is a popular folk dance form which is still very alive in the countryside. Song Yaotian, CCTV.
All right, so Chunjie, or Spring Festival, is the most important festival here in China. And today marks the final day of the Dragon Year. And the New Year's Eve is a big deal here in China. It's marked by family reunions and traditional family dinner. Spring Festival culture is spreading not just here in China, but right around the world, as overseas Chinese from different countries, as well as many foreigners this year, are celebrating the festival in their own special way. Our Li Ying takes a closer look at how people are ushering in the Year of the Snake.
Traditional Chinese Spring Festival culture is spreading far beyond China to every corner of the world. In Italy, hundreds of people enjoyed a musical and dancing extravaganza on the Roman street. Activities like lion or dragon dances, martial arts and Chinese opera attracted thousands of residents.
I like their costumes, very colorful. Their dancing and music is also very energetic.
In Finland, teachers and students from a school celebrated the holiday by making Chinese dumplings. Residents also took part.
I can make dumplings. I enjoy the process of making them myself.
While in Iran, people lined up to taste Chinese traditional cakes shaped as snakes, fish, and other edible items.
Prefer Chinese food. I love Chinese food. It's very different kinds of taste, and I like it.
This year, Thailand becomes the most popular destination for Chinese tourists during the Spring Festival holiday. To attract Chinese customers, Spring Festival decorations and activities have been adopted by big and small malls in Thailand.
In Chinatown and some other places, we can see these red lanterns and Chinese dragon decorations. These are all with Chinese Spring Festival characteristics.
In other parts of the world, such as Britain, Ukraine, South Africa, Malaysia, and the United Arab Emirates, people are also celebrating the festival with wishes for good fortune and happiness for New Year. Leon, CCTV.
The Tujia are the 7th largest ethnic minority in China with over 8 million people. Now, in one of the major areas where they live, Zhangjiajie, it's a city in central China's Hunan province, the New Year celebrations are in full swing.
For Tujia people, glutinous rice cake is a common item on the Spring Festival menu. The gourmet is a hard one. The separate rice particles have to be pounded into paste. But some tourists deem this painstaking chore as delightful entertainment.
It's so bustling here. The traditions are so different.
Before the New Year, Tujia people will hold a magnificent banquet. The banquet features various traditional foods, each having its own auspicious message implied.
These stewed intestines means a long happiness. So yummy. After eating this, people will surely be blessed.
Delicious feast wouldn't be complete without good wine.
This homebrewed wine will help you live longer than 99 years old.
In ancient times, the Tujia people used stilts to wade across streams. Now the handicrafts are being used in popular games during the holidays.
I've retrieved so much childhood memories. I often played stilts when I was little.
Accompanied with a rhythmic drum beat, a ritual dance ceremony is performed to wish everyone a happy new year. 70 gestures incorporated, representing war, farming, hunting, courtship, and other aspects of traditional life. Even though times have changed, it seems modern Tujia people can still find joy in its 500-year-old dance. CCTV.
Well, it's not just here on the mainland. In Taiwan, too, residents are stocking up on candies and snacks for the new year. But small business owners are finding it harder and harder to share in the spending spree. Our correspondent Lin Yang has this report from Taipei.
The usually quiet Dihua Street in Taipei bustles with vendors and crowds right before Chinese New Year. For over 2 centuries, shoppers have come here to stock up on all sorts of snacks and goodies for family gatherings during next week's holiday. Many of these products, such as candies and dried fruits, are familiar across the Chinese-speaking world. Others, such as mullet roe, a dried patty of fish eggs served as an hors d'oeuvre, are more unique to Taiwan.
But shopkeepers here on both sides of the street say business has been tough in recent years, as they've been outcompeted by both large supermarkets and convenience store chains.
Places like Carrefour buy New Year's goods from suppliers in bulk and can negotiate lower prices that these small businesses cannot. Mr. Ye Shirong and his family have sold New Year's goods here for 82 years and has experienced firsthand how difficult things have become. When those large supermarkets opened, our business went down 50%. These markets are really big, with a large selection of goods. That's why so many people go there to shop, and it makes our honest work harder. Prices have also increased, especially for dried goods. Taipei's government estimates that prices for ingredients in Fotiaoqiang, a popular Chinese winter stew, have gone up 6% since last year. Ingredients include dried scallops, shark fin, ginseng, and mushrooms. Mullet roe is up by a whopping 30 to 40%, and many say supply has fallen as mainland Chinese acquire a taste for this Taiwanese delicacy. The problem is, average salaries in Taiwan have not increased for more than a decade. So when prices go up, fewer customers shop at Dihua Street. And when they do come, they buy less. For dishes like Fotiaoqiang, we use cheaper substitute ingredients at home instead. So we avoid expensive stuff like abalone or shark fin and replace them with shellfish.
With Taiwan's economy barely growing in 2012, many shoppers will be tightening their belts this new year. Whether Dihua Street will still be this busy in the future will largely depend on whether local residents will be willing to pay a little bit more to preserve the centuries-old tradition. Lin Yang, CCTV, Taipei.
Now, full of tradition and custom, Spring Festival is the most significant holiday for all of Chinese people, not just here in China, but right around the world. It also brings together people from different countries to celebrate right here in China. And our reporter Nila Iyuni has more on how foreigners are taking to the Spring Festival.
Suba Donggol and Dan Pingshi are busy preparing for the start of Spring Festival. The couple, he from Nepal and she from China, is heading to Liaoning province to visit family.
The Spring Festival is a great time for my husband to learn more about Chinese culture. There's so much to take in during the entire holiday. It's also a time to reunite with family and friends, which we normally are too busy to do.
Donggol and Shi are among an increasing number of people who are merging cultures and nationalities to celebrate one of China's most time-honored holidays. For Donggol, the festival is not only a chance to immerse himself in Chinese culture, but also remedies homesickness as well.
In Nepal, we have a very similar kind of festival where we get together with the families, eat and celebrate. So I don't get that much of opportunity to go to Nepal and celebrate that with my family. But since I'm in China, they have the Spring Festival. And I go and meet my mother-in-law, father-in-laws, so it makes me feel like home.
The couple met in China through mutual friends. They now own a business together selling Nepalese imports. Donggol says the merchandise makes the perfect holiday gifts for his extended family. It also allows him to share part of his culture. On a larger scale, the couple's multicultural approach to the festival reflects an emerging trend in China's international cities. Spring Festival is traditionally one of the most important holidays for Chinese, but with China's globalization, more people from different countries are joining in the celebrations. From foreigners trying their hand at traditional holiday activities to galas drawing in viewers from around the world, Spring Festival has truly become a time for all to enjoy. And in Donggol and Shi's case, it's a universal concept that makes the holidays so special. They say the best part is spending time with family and enjoying good food. Nila Iyuni, CCTV.
All right, we've got less than 12 hours now for the Year of the Snake to be ushered in. Leaders from right around the world have been expressing their best wishes to the Chinese people.
May I, on behalf of the government and people of Zimbabwe, congratulate the people of the People's Republic of China and their government on their new year. Best wishes and Happy New Year.
Greetings and best wishes to all Canadians who observe the arrival of the Year of the Snake. May your celebrations be marked by the warmth of family and the good times spent with friends. We share the best country in the world, and hard-working Chinese Canadians, renowned for their commitment to family and community, contribute tremendously to our success at home and abroad. Best wishes for good luck, happiness, and success to you and your family in the year to come.
I don't know how my Chinese is, but I'll try my best to express my wishes. Happy New Year and thank you so much.
All right, so today is the last chance in case you want to go back home and celebrate Chinese New Year's Eve with your family. As of Friday, figures show that 6 million passengers traveled by train on Friday alone. Now, the number of long-distance train journeys has fallen compared to last year, but this year, the interesting thing is that more and more people are undertaking short-distance trips, as our Meng Qingsheng explains in this story.
Back home to celebrate the Spring Festival. More than 10,000 passengers leave Beijing South Railway Station every hour, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. High-speed trains to either Tianjin or Shanghai are running at an interval of 5 to 15 minutes.
We have put 77 pairs of Beijing-Shanghai high-speed trains and 82 pairs of Beijing-Tianjin high-speed trains into service, an increase of 22 pairs compared with normal. We'll increase the number of trains if the passenger volume rises.
Meanwhile, short-distance trains are now busy along the Yangtze River Delta, the Pearl River Delta, as well as coastal regions in East China. The Ministry of Railways has prepared extra trains for an influx of returning passengers after the Spring Festival. Railway departments have also added 9 overnight trains on the Beijing-Guangzhou high-speed line. Meng Qingsheng, CCTV.
Now, it's the number of train journeys, particularly long-distance journeys, falling just a bit. But you compare that to what's happening on the roads, it's a different story altogether. Under 90 million journeys were made by road on Friday. It's a slight decrease from the day before. But traffic conditions right around the country generally reported to be stable, although we must add that snow has closed out at least 4 major expressways. From midnight tonight, in case you're on a vehicle with 7 seats or less, you will not have to pay toll charges for the next entire week, starting midnight tonight. Airports in major cities, they remain busy on Friday. There was some snow causing flight delays at a few airports across China. Stay with us here on the News Hour. When we return, China denies allegations that one of its ships, a naval warship, locked its weapons radar onto a Japanese frigate a week ago. And in Tunisia, the birthplace of the Arab Spring, protesters clashed with the police and workers have launched a general strike after the assassination of opposition leader Chokri Belaid. Stay with us, the News Hour is back in 2 minutes. Welcome back. Some international headlines. China has now criticized Japan for its claims that a Chinese naval ship had locked its weapons radar onto Japanese targets about a week ago. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying says the allegations come out of nowhere. At a press conference Friday, Hua accused Japan of spreading false information, damaging China's image and misleading public opinion. She said that China has been forced to be on alert over Japan's intentions, particularly on the Diaoyu Islands. Hua's statement is in response to claims by the Japanese Defense Ministry that a Chinese frigate had locked its weapons radar onto a Japanese destroyer in the East China Sea about a week ago. Earlier, China's Defense Ministry had called the allegation irresponsible. In a statement, the Defense Ministry had called for continuing vigilance against such moves by Japan. But in Tokyo, Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga has told a news conference that Japan could not accept China's explanation and that Japan's accusation came after careful analysis. The Japanese government has begun debating whether or not to lift a ban to the right to collective self-defense. A special panel meeting on this issue opened in Tokyo Friday. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe joined the 13-member panel for the talks. The panel's been convened for the first time since Abe was returned to office late December. Panel members briefed the Prime Minister on Japan's current security situation. A proposal was heard to allow the exercising of collective self-defense rights when escorting U.S. ships and intercepting missiles. Abe says the government will carefully study the proposal in the light of changes in the security situation surrounding Japan. Remember, this is not the first time, though, that Shinzo Abe has looked at lifting Japan's self-imposed ban on the right to exercise collective defense, self-defense, in fact, something that's been on for the last 60 years or so since the end of the Second World War. Back during his first run as Prime Minister in 2007, Abe set up a special advisory panel to look at reconstructing the legal basis for Japan's self-imposed ban. The panel considered 4 cases: repelling attacks by others on U.S. fleet on open seas, intercepting ballistic missiles fired towards the United States, guarding foreign troops engaged in international peacekeeping operations, and providing logistical support to other countries in peacekeeping operations. The panel's report back in 2008 proposed that Japan should be allowed to exercise the right to collective self-defense, but only in the first and second scenarios. But the Japanese government did not follow that recommendation. It kept the constitution unchanged, which bans the exercise of such right under all circumstances. Now, some analysts believe that the current Japanese government will be more inclined to accept such recommendations this time and break constitutional limitations as a means of expanding the country's military strength. Turning our attention to Tunisia now, the birthplace of the Arab Spring, there have been widespread clashes between mourners and police at the funeral of an assassinated opposition leader, Chokri Belaid. His killing on Wednesday has plunged the country deeper into political crisis. Police fired tear gas at demonstrators outside the cemetery in Tunis, the capital, where Belaid was being laid to rest. They had earlier fired shots in the air to disperse the young people who were there, smashing up cars. Tens of thousands of mourners, some estimates say at least 50,000 people, surged around an open army truck which was carrying Belaid's coffin. They were chanting anti-Islamist slogans. A general strike has also been held in Tunisia, which was called by the country's main labour union to coincide with Belaid's funeral. Schools, shops, banks and other institutions had all been closed Friday. Another country in Africa which is in turmoil, the war in Mali, has badly damaged the country's economy. Trade has collapsed, prices have risen, and workers, scores of them, have been laid off. Yang Yan has more details.
The city of Mopti in central Mali is a transit center on the Niger River for both people and goods. It used to be a busy port, but with the collapse in trade between the north and south of the country, there are now few ships and piles of garbage. The sword trade is one of the worst hit industries in Mopti.
A piece of salt like this one used to be 500 francs, and a lot of people came here to buy it. But since the war broke out, the Tuareg who run the northern salt fields have stopped trading. The price has doubled now, so no one comes here to buy it.
Transportation in the region has been badly affected. Banks have closed down, prices have soared. Many people are out of work as companies lay off workers.
I used to have every week at least 50 persons per week for my business. And for that business, because of this war, because of this rebellion, broke all our business. And now we don't work anymore. Our situation goes bad and bad and bad and bad every day. Now I just have only 5 persons working for me.
Before the war, Mali's economy was growing by 4 to 5% a year, the average growth rate in Western Africa. That's collapsed since the outbreak of violence last year, and foreign investors have been withdrawing from the country. The current phase of the conflict seems to be coming to an end, but the economic damage urgently needs to be repaired. Yang Yan, CCTV.
Stay with us here on the News Hour. When we return, European Union leaders for the first time in their history agreed to a 7-year budget with spending cuts, but the deal, and here's the problem, it could be thrown out by the European Parliament very soon. And a major mining conference in Africa wraps up in Cape Town, South Africa, with the highest number of attendees on record. Welcome back. For the first time in the history of the European Union, leaders from all 27 member states have agreed on a reduced budget that will take the bloc forward until at least 2020. Here's the problem, though, and as our Jack Barton reports in this following story, having sealed a deal in which all sides now are claiming victory, there are now mounting concerns that this new budget may be thrown out by the European Parliament as early as the next few weeks.
After 24 hours of marathon negotiations, European leaders finally agreed on a new 7-year EU budget. And at €959 billion, it represents the first ever budget reduction in the EU's 56-year history, and a figure well short of the original proposal of more than €1 trillion.
It's perhaps nobody's perfect budget, but there's a lot in it for everybody.
The deal strikes a balance between the demands of northern European countries that insisted on belt-tightening and countries in the south and east that wanted sustained spending on agricultural subsidies and infrastructure, which allowed all sides to claim victory. Though, of course, there were still some grumblers, especially among the British.
Even with this so-called good deal, the British taxpayer is now being expected for the next 7 years to continue to pay £50 million a day as a membership fee to this club.
The budget must now face the European Parliament. The budget includes spending plans of €959 billion, but commitments from member states only totalling €908 billion, which leaves a shortfall that already has some worried that the budget may still be vetoed.
I think it's very difficult for the Parliament to accept this proposal.
And the reasons are very simple. First of all, they create a deficit. I think it will be rejected by the European Parliament, although my group certainly will support it. The problem is that the Parliament are going to do this by secret ballot. So it will look as though the Parliament is out of touch and unaccountable.
So an historic agreement has been reached, but for it to stick, the budget must still navigate its way through a hostile European Parliament, which could still decide that it's back to the drawing board. Jack Barton, CCTV, Brussels.
Now, despite the compromises that they had to make, both French President François Hollande as well as Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel are saying that they are satisfied with this new budget deal.
In my view, this agreement is good, and it is important because we have the capacity to act for Europe and in Europe, and we have the predictability for important projects.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your patience and tenacity for your understanding regarding an agreement that took as long as usual to come to force, but that is, I believe, a good compromise in conditions we know about.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Justice has filed civil charges against ratings agency Standard & Poor's over its ratings of mortgage bonds prior to the financial crisis that was back in 2008-09. The Justice Department is accusing S&P of knowingly and deliberately inflating its ratings of risky mortgage investments, which brought about the financial crisis in the first place. Now, according to these lawsuits, S&P gave high marks to these investments simply because it wanted to earn more business. The department is seeking as much as $5 billion in penalties from S&P. A short while ago, I caught up with Professor Michael Gadbow. He's an expert in financial regulation at the Institute of International Economic Law at Georgetown University, and he explained the impact of this on not just S&P, but also other ratings agencies, as well as on the markets itself.
If you look at all of the accounts, and there have been many, many books and articles and reams of journalists commenting on what happened in the financial crisis, and what's clear from virtually all of those accounts is that there was a lot of responsibility to go around, that there was a governmental, a policy failure, a regulatory failure, a market failure, and a lot of individuals that got themselves into investments that they should not have. So there's a lot of blame to go around, and the administration has been called on by some to bring to task and to justice those that are seen to be responsible for acting illegally. But there are also a lot of people who counter that there are so many, this was such a systemic failure across the board that unless you engage with all of those elements that bear responsibility, you won't be really solving the problem.
Professor Michael Gadbow from the Georgetown University. Now, the annual African Mining Indaba Conference is wrapped up in Cape Town, South Africa. The four-day gathering attracted over 7,500 people involved in the mining industry from right across the globe. That is the highest number of attendees in the 19-year history of this summit. Sumitra Naidu reports from Cape Town.
It was clear at this year's Mining Indaba that the world is focused firmly on Africa. The continent holds the world's largest number of diversified minerals. It's also home to large deposits of natural gases, providing the perfect opportunity to both local and international investors.
We were largely investing in India in the past because that was our parent country where we came from. So our investment journey in Africa began in 2005, but it is carrying on. With any good opportunities, we'll be very interested in this continent.
Africa is rich in resources, but mining production represents only about 8% of global mineral production. Most African countries still need to overcome the obstacles preventing them from unlocking their mining potential. Most delegations attending this year's Mining Indaba use the opportunity to assure investors they're keen to do business.
Guinea today, its goal is to attract any investor willing, to put their money in our country. For that, we committed ourselves to protect, to secure the investor and their investment.
Africa may be heavily endowed with minerals, but mining activity is still relatively low. However, there's been a realization that mining development has the ability to lift the economic fortunes of some of Africa's poorest nations.
To increase our production, and when we are increasing our production, to make that the mining sector contribute efficiently into our development.
But analysts are warning that there's a major shift taking place in the mining industry. There's more pressure on mining companies to ensure sustainability and address the socio-economic needs of the people that should rightly benefit from their land's resources.
The key is that money is not being spent as well as it possibly could, both in terms of bringing benefits to communities as well as bringing benefits to the mining companies and securing their social license to operate. And the fundamental reason why that's not happening is because so far we as a society, and particularly mining companies, have been focused on outputs, not on outcomes.
Industry experts believe that companies need clear direction from governments, and that still needs to be addressed.
If there's clear policies, clear rules of the games that's been set, I think investors can make an informed decision as to whether they want to or do not want to invest.
It's been an interesting 4 days here at the mining Indaba. There's been robust debate around how the mining industry can overcome the challenges that it faces. There's also been some interesting rhetoric around resource nationalization. Clearly, there's more work to be done before governments and private companies speak the same language. Sumitra Naidu, CCTV, Cape Town.
And stay with us here on the News Hour. When we return, the northeast of the United States is bracing for what could be the worst snowstorm in decades. Almost like the '98 snowstorm. All the way from Boston to New York, people are being asked to stay indoors. And the British government announces an investigation into care standards after hundreds of people, by some estimates at least 1,000, died from neglect at one particular hospital. Welcome back. Two major storm systems are moving to the U.S. Northeast, and that's threatening major snowstorms across the seaboard from Boston to New York. People are being asked to stay indoors, so much so the U.S. National Weather Service has issued an alert it's describing as a potentially historic blizzard across the Northeast.
Heavy snow is falling in the U.S. Northeast. Weather experts predict a potentially historic winter storm with up to 60 centimeters of snow. Many experts are recalling the storm of 1978, when thousands of people were trapped on expressways and many died.
This is a storm of major proportion. Stay off the roads. Stay home. Let the public works crews do their job over the next 48 to 72 hours. And make sure that our public safety vehicles are able to get through the streets of our city.
People have been warned to stay off the roads and stock up on food and other supplies. More than 1,500 flights have been cancelled in anticipation.
So far, we're scheduled to be on the 10:45 out of Boston to Cincinnati. We were originally on the 1 o'clock, but we didn't want to chance that being canceled because we have a lot of connections. So far, it looks like we might make it out.
Widespread power failures are also feared, along with flooding in coastal areas. Some cities are still recovering from Superstorm Sandy last October. Officials in New Jersey have issued a voluntary evacuation order for areas still recovering from Sandy. Yang Yan, CCTV.
Well, a wildfire has broken out in Dali, that's in southwest China's Yunnan province. For the very latest, we can speak to our reporter Liu Shuimei, who's now joining us from Kunming, the provincial capital. Shuimei, tell us the very latest on what's happening there.
Hello, Zaka. The fire broke out on Tuesday and had been burning for more than 3 days, but it has now been extinguished, and people are making sure it doesn't start again. A transformer substation, a gas station, and a firecracker storage house that were in danger have been secured. But the threat of a new fire is still there. More than 300 residents were evacuated. Factories and enterprises, as well as thousands of residents, had no electric power for 1 day. And the fire is believed to have been started by people burning rubbish. Because of the dry weather and strong winds, the fire spread very quickly, making it difficult for firefighters to extinguish. 3 helicopters also took part in the firefighting efforts. Fortunately, no casualties have been reported. Dhaka, back to you.
All right, Liu Shuimei, thanks very much for joining us with the very latest on that fire in Dali in Yunnan province. But for the very latest on sport, we can go across to Jonas Gilbert, as always, and he's got, as always, news from the NBA.
Yes, we do love our basketball, Zach. We do begin with some sports from the NBA. And two of the association's most storied franchises, the Celtics and the Lakers, were renewing acquaintances in Beantown. This game, though, lacking a little bit of star power. Boston's Rajon Rondo and LA's Pau Gasol both sidelined with injuries. The Celtics, though, have been dealing with the loss of their starting point guard quite well. The squad 5-0 since Rondo went down with his knee injury, and Lakers center Dwight Howard a game-time decision, but he would play, battling back from that sore shoulder. Boston will get off to a quick start. Paul Pierce going to knock down the jumper there. He had 24 on the night. And Kevin Garnett also had a solid night for the Celtics. A little turnaround jumper to put the home squad up by 10. That was also the 25,000th point in KG's career. He's the 16th player in NBA history to achieve that. Now, Kobe Bryant doing what he could to keep his team in this one. He would finish with 27, the margin 8 at that point. But the hometown Celtics would start to take things over in the second quarter. Jason Terry going to spot up. He'll knock down that triple. The C's would go into the break up by 14 on the Lakers, and they would continue to push that pace in the third Q. Garnett able to convert after the nice feed down low. Little hook going to fall for the Celtics. They're starting to pull away, and they would stretch that lead later to 21 as Paul Pierce knocks down the J. And the truth would provide the dagger for Boston. The Celtics win this one in a row on their parquet. 116-95 is how this one would end, as the Celtics do indeed beat LA. West, Denver hosting Chicago, and Kenneth Faried was doing his thing on the night early on. The athletic big man going to get in for the little alley-oop putback there. Not sure if that was intentional or not, but Faried cleaning it up. 21-12, the home team on top. Then Wilson Chandler going to knock down that triple. The Nugs take the lead into the break. 24 on the night for the former Zhejiang swingman. And then Denver breaks the game open in the third. They would outscore Chicago by 21 the third Q. Faried flying in there. And then it would be JaVale McGee cleaning things up on the offensive end. Some nice hops from the big man. Throws it down. That stretches the lead for the Nuggets to 20. They would continue to roll at home. They're playing really good ball right now. 128-96 would be the final. Denver knock off the Bulls for their 8th straight win. They've now overtaken Memphis for 4th in the Western Conference standings.
There's no shafting the fool on plays like that.
Well, we turn to the ice now, and when Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin first broke into the league, it was supposed to signal a new rivalry, but things have been extremely one-sided here, as Crosby's Pittsburgh Penguins have been able to win a cup, make it to another final, while Ovechkin's Capitals have failed to live up to their lofty goals, usually getting bounced before the second round of the playoffs. And these two teams also going in different directions this year. Pittsburgh could take over first in the East with a win, and these cellar-dwelling Caps, mired in the basement, would strike first, though. Mike Ribeiro going to pounce on the loose puck. He tucks that home. One buzz for the Caps, but the home side going to turn the tide in the second. First, it's Evgeny Malkin off the half wall, and the power play is going to walk in and absolutely snipe one home. That evens things up at a goal apiece. No chance for Michael Neuver there. Then with Pittsburgh up a goal, they go looking for more again on the power play. The nice breakout pass going to lead to a rush, and James Neal, some nice patience, goes to the backhand, tucks it between the legs, and the Pens take a 3-1 lead, but they weren't done there. Still in the second, back on the power play. Pittsburgh up 4-1, and Sidney Crosby going to make it 5-1. He swats home the rebound out of midair. The Pens up by 4. They would score 5 in the second period en route to the 5-2 victory. Another action on the night. Buffalo got by Montreal in a shootout. New Jersey doubled up Tampa 4-2. Teenage rookie JT Miller scored his first 2 goals in the league in his second career game as the Rangers got past the Islanders in the Battle of New York City. Florida edged Philly in a shootout, while Alex Tanguay had the overtime winner as Calgary skated past Columbus. For Calgary, their first win in overtime on the road since October of 2010. Meanwhile, Jay Harrison scored an OT to give Carolina a win over Ottawa. Toronto edged Winnipeg. Detroit had an easy time with St. Louis. They picked up a 5-1 win. Pekka Rinne got the goose egg as Nashville shut out LA, and Corey Schneider was sharp in his first action in 11 days. Made 23 saves as Vancouver beat up Minnesota 4-1, and league-leading Chicago continuing their great run of hockey, a 6-2 win for them over Phoenix. For his entire career, Jamie Carragher had been associated with one club, Liverpool, but his great run at Anfield is set to come to an end. The Reds defender has announced he will soon be hanging up his cleats. The 35-year-old will end his run with the only club he's known as a pro at the end of the current Premier League season. The unsung hero made his pro debut back in the 1996-1997 campaign, and after having initially played as a fullback, the arrival of manager Rafa Benitez back in 2004 saw Carragher move to become a center back, and he's remained there ever since. He represented England at the 2004 European Championship and the 2006 and 2010 World Cups. And Jamie Carragher's made 723 appearances so far for the Anfield Club. He's second in Liverpool's all-time appearance table. His honours include 2 FA Cups, 3 League Cups, 2 Community Shields, 1 Champions League crown, 1 UEFA Cup, and 2 Super Cups. Well, I do it for us here for a little cut-in on the News Hour. Zach, a full edition of the show coming your way, 3:30 p.m. But for now, back to you, and a very happy Chunjie Kuala, my man.
Oh, Chunjie Kuala to you, too. The Spring Festival here in China. We'll stick with Britain in a story that's making the rounds there, in fact, making the headlines. The British government now has apologized for all patients who suffered at a British hospital. Reports saying anywhere between 400 to 1,200 people died after quote-unquote truly dreadful mistreatment and neglect at the Stafford Hospital between 2005 and 2009. Here's what happened.
An urgent need to change the culture of Britain's National Health Service. Appalling standards of care were found at Stafford Hospital in central England. Elderly and vulnerable patients were left unwashed, unfed and without fluids. The most basic standards of care were neglected. Doreen, James Stubbs' wife, died at the hospital in 2008.
When she came out, she was paralysed from the neck down, couldn't speak, and everything had just gone. And that was just through the care that she received in Stafford Hospital.
The experience was not an isolated case. James' mother received treatment in the hospital and decided not to enter the place again.
Bad. She had a bad experience, but luckily, like I said, my sister's a doctor, and she told them to sort it out. Otherwise, she might not have survived.
Stafford Hospital was established in 1983. It's a middle-sized hospital. After the National Health Service was reformed, the hospital faced a smaller budget and lost staff. It received fewer patients and cancelled its emergency service.
The thing is, it's not only Stafford. There's lots of other hospitals, I think, that are a problem.
British Prime Minister David Cameron has announced an investigation into standards of care at hospitals with the highest mortality rates. Meanwhile, a probe has also been announced into 5 further National Health Service trusts, which had higher than expected death rates for 2 successive years to 2012. Wang Xinye, CCTV.
Now, companies in Denmark who are trying to sell their goods to China have found that the path to success is to use a matchmaker who can break down barriers between both cultures. The Chinese matchmaker in this case, Wenyuan Zhu from Beijing, known as Audrey, claims that more than 95% of her Danish clients are satisfied with her work. Malcolm Brabant reports from Aalborg.
At a sewage plant in Aalborg, Audrey Zhu is hard at work, finding out the needs of environmental consultant Preben Knudsen. Knudsen's firm already has a foothold in China, but wants to expand, selling technology and know-how that will help to reduce pollution. Their treatment plants purify water. The waste byproducts are siphoned off and turned into biogas, a clean source of energy. Knudsen says that Audrey's role in building bridges between Aalborg and China is invaluable.
If we should go to China alone in a company like ours, which is a consulting company, I think that would be totally impossible for us, or it would be so expensive that we would go to another market, which would be easier. So we only did go into this market because we had this cooperation with the municipality of Aalborg.
The next client on Audrey's list sells specialist clothing for runners. The firm believes there's only a limited market in China and wants to tread carefully with Audrey's assistance.
We need people with local knowledge who manage the language, who have the right contacts. To do that as a European is very, very difficult.
And that's where Audrey comes in. The local authority employs her to smooth paths between the two cultures, and she claims to have achieved a high rate of success.
The most important thing we do is to eliminate risks. Because of the knowledge about China, the business culture and environment, what I do normally is to help the company to spot a need from the Chinese partner.
We have examples. It gives jobs to China and jobs here because a company have production in China and some of the engineers in China and some of the engineers and salesmen here, and the contact where a Chinese company and a Danish company is working together gives a very good mix.
China's growing economy offers European companies the prospect of growth, but the feeling here is that you need a matchmaker to reduce risk, cut costs and establish vital trust between East and West. Malcolm Brabant, CCTV, Aalborg.
And finally, we go back to our top story, the welcoming of the Chinese New Year, the snake. While millions of Chinese across the country and right around the world are getting ready to usher in the New Year, people in Tibet, they're busy preparing for Losar, which is the Tibetan New Year. Now, according to this year's Tibetan calendar, it falls just a day behind the Chinese Lunar New Year, and our reporter Lin Nan is in Lhasa to experience the festival with the local family there.
It's the beginning of the day, a special day for Dawa Dunzhu's family. Losar, the Tibetan New Year, is approaching, and many things need to be prepared for this most important day of the year. Although Dawa Dunzhu has passed the work of decorating to his younger son, he is still watching carefully to make sure every detail is perfect. His elder son is taking another mission, cooking the fried dough twist. First, you mix flour with water in a basin to make a dough. Turn the dough on a lightly floured surface and knead until smooth and elastic. A touch of red paint adds a more festive style. Roll the dough onto a greased surface and into a long roll. Then cut it into round pieces. Roll each piece into a small strip. Fold each strip twice. Deep fry each until golden and crispy. Remove, drain well, and sprinkle with sugar. Mission accomplished. Meanwhile, Dawa Dunzhu is keeping himself busy.
I'm cleaning the goods to worship God. They were passed on from my parents many decades ago.
Worshipping God is a daily routine for the old man. He hopes that the spirit will keep the family healthy and prosperous. After a long day's work, the family needs comfort food, gutu. It's made of wheat flour. Tibetans wrap things in it, such as chili pepper, salt, and something beyond your imagination. So what is this?
It's cow dung. Whoever has it will be the lucky star of the year.
Traditionally, gutu is served during the Tibetan New Year's Eve banquet. Even if it's not the right time, I really wanted to give it a try. So my host decided to cook it for me in advance. To indulge me in an authentic Losar experience, my host is having me try on a traditional Tibetan outfit. And here it is. The wait is long but totally worth it. When the food is brought to the table, everyone gets excited. Not just for the food, but the feeling of family unity.
We live in different parts of Tibet and usually only speak on the phone. Getting together means a lot for the family.
The green barley wine is the best company on such an occasion. And this is the New Year's greeting from Tibet. Lin Nan, CCTV, Lhasa, Tibet.
And on that note, we'd like to wish all our viewers, both in China and right around the world, a very happy New Year's Eve. Chunjia Kuala. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, noon Beijing time, for another edition of the News Hour. Enjoy your New Year's Eve festivities with your family. We leave you with a special closing here on the News Hour, this Saturday edition. See you tomorrow, same time. Bye for now. Happy New Year.
I can make dumplings. I enjoy the process of making them myself.
While in Iran, people lined up to taste Chinese traditional cakes shaped as snakes, fish, and other edible items.
Prefer Chinese food. I love Chinese food. It's very different kinds of taste, and I like it.
This year, Thailand becomes the most popular destination for Chinese tourists during the Spring Festival holiday. To attract Chinese customers, Spring Festival decorations and activities have been adopted by big and small malls in Thailand.
In Chinatown and some other places, we can see these red lanterns and Chinese dragon decorations. These are all with Chinese Spring Festival characteristics.
In other parts of the world, such as Britain, Ukraine, South Africa, Malaysia, and the United Arab Emirates, people are also celebrating the festival with wishes for good fortune and happiness for New Year. Leon, CCTV.
The Tujia are the 7th largest ethnic minority in China with over 8 million people. Now, in one of the major areas where they live, Zhangjiajie, it's a city in central China's Hunan province, the New Year celebrations are in full swing.
For Tujia,
the Year of the Dragon draws to a close, and Chinese people right around the globe are getting ready to welcome the Year of the Snake. China denies allegations that one of its ships locked its weapons radar onto a Japanese frigate. A major conference on mining in Africa wraps up in Cape Town, South Africa. We'll get you the details. And the northeast of the United States is bracing itself for what could be one of the worst snowstorms in decades. This is the News Hour on CCTV News. Noon here in Beijing, 11 p.m. across the U.S. East Coast. Wherever you're joining us from, thanks for your time, folks. We'd like to start this program by wishing all our viewers in China and right around the world a very happy and prosperous Year of the Snake as we celebrate the Spring Festival here in China, Chunjie Kuaila. Now, New Year customs here in China, they vary right around the country. They're as varied as the country's geography. Dragon dance, mouth-watering feast, the Younger dance. As you take a trip down from the north of China to the south, the celebratory practices change. Let's get you a sneak peek as our top story on the News Hour.
You might have seen a dragon dance before, but what about a bench dragon parade? At a village near Yellow Mountain in Anhui Province, dancers staged a parade on the street, waving a dragon made of lanterns fixed on benches. The Bench Dragon Parade originated in the Song Dynasty. Along with the dragon's dance are people's good wishes for the coming year. Each dragon is composed of 100 benches and stretches over 100 meters.
I hope our lives next year are prosperous, like this dragon.
Heading to the north, in Siping City in Jilin Province, this family is busy pasting festival couplets, hanging lanterns and making paper cuttings. The women are preparing food for the New Year feast. In this big iron cauldron is the dish that just needs its finishing touches.
This dish is fried chicken with mushrooms. We'll make 10 dishes, meaning perfection.
Stewed fish, stewed pork with pickled cabbages and sausages. All these are signature dishes of Northeast China. A younger dance troupe is traveling the village to pay a New Year call to every family. And Younger is also swaying his way in Shandong's Binzhou, where a dance competition was held. Some 1,000 farmers joined.
Ya people, glutinous rice cake is a common item on the Spring Festival menu. The gourmet is a hard one. The separate rice particles have to be pounded into paste. But some tourists deem this painstaking chore as delightful entertainment.
It's so bustling here. The traditions are so different.
Before the New Year, Tujia people will hold a magnificent banquet. The banquet features various traditional foods, each having its own auspicious message implied.
These stewed intestines means a long happiness. So yummy. After eating this, people will surely be blessed.
Delicious feast wouldn't be complete without good wine.
This homebrewed wine will help you live longer than 99 years old.
In ancient times, the Tujia people used stilts to wade across streams. Now the handicrafts are being used in popular games during the holidays.
I've retrieved so much childhood memories. I often played stilts when I was little.
Accompanied with a rhythmic drum beat, a ritual dance ceremony is performed to wish everyone a Happy New Year. 70 gestures incorporated, representing war, farming, hunting, courtship, and other aspects of traditional life. Even though times have changed.
In the dance, Yangge is a popular folk dance form which is still very alive in the countryside. Song Yaotian, CCTV.
All right, so Chunjie, or Spring Festival, is the most important festival here in China. And today marks the final day of the Dragon Year. And the New Year's Eve is a big deal here in China. It's marked by family reunions and traditional family dinner. Spring Festival culture is spreading not just here in China, but right around the world, as overseas Chinese from different countries, as well as many foreigners this year, are celebrating the festival in their own special way. Our Li Ying takes a closer look at how people are ushering in the Year of the Snake.
Traditional Chinese Spring Festival culture is spreading far beyond China to every corner of the world. In Italy, hundreds of people enjoyed a musical and dancing extravaganza on the Roman street. Activities like lion or dragon dances, martial arts and Chinese opera attracted thousands of residents.
I like their costumes, very colorful. Their dancing and music is also very energetic.
In Finland, teachers and students from a school celebrated the holiday by making Chinese dumplings. Residents also took part.